The combination of who we are is unique. If you don't bring who you are to this world, it will be forever missed. Only AJ can bring AJ into the world.
That's pretty deep. I'm not going to be able to say at 45, at 50, at 55, I'm living truly free. It's going to be, it's a lifelong journey. And at the end, you can be, I lived truly free.
Welcome to the Live Truly Free podcast, where we provide fatherly guidance to entrepreneurs at any level of their journey. Hi, I'm George Black, and this is AJ. Are you ready for this week's adventure of building great companies and discovering the Live Truly Free lifestyle for entrepreneurs? Awesome, let's get started.
So George, at the end of every episode, you say to help entrepreneurs live truly free.
Right.
And I kind of have a basic understanding of what that means, but I've always been wondering, how would you describe that? What do you think living truly free looks like?
To get to what Live Truly Free looks like, let's start with what's your thinking on where do you end up in life?
So you're kind of asking what's expected, what's the expected path that people in my generation take almost?
Yeah, exactly.
So basically, like you were saying, you start off, you're plopped into this world, you don't know anything. And then you go to school,
right?
You do good in elementary school, and then you go to middle school. You do good in middle school, then you go to high school. You do good in high school, and then you apply to colleges, and you go to the best one possible. So once you graduate from college, then you can get the best job possible, make the most money possible. From there, you're going to get a good salary, and they give you good benefits, and they take care of everything for you, but you just got to work for them for the 40, 50, 60, maybe 70 or 80 hours a week that they need you for. And then you start a family eventually, but you keep working for the company, and you got to make sacrifices between your family life and your company life. And then eventually you retire with whatever money you were able to save up. You spend your retirement doing whatever you're able to, depending on your physical condition. And then this sounds a little grim, but then you die, and
boom,
and it's
over.
Yeah, and that's it.
So that's the circle of life.
Yeah.
To quote a phrase from a film. Well, I'll tell you this: that pattern goes back beyond just your generation. Okay, for a very long time. Mm-hmm. And that is, I think maybe that's the American dream. You think?
That's pretty sad if it is.
Well, get the house, all that kind of stuff. So coming out of high school, going into college, it's kind of optional more.
Yeah.
And hopping right into entrepreneurial activity. So Live Truly Free actually kind of started with me from that.
Okay.
I was inspired by a story of a man many millennia ago. He had a tent making business, and what he did was he would be what we call today like on the speaking circuit or events and things like that. But they didn't have all the setup back, 1800 years ago or 1900 years ago. And so he had an entourage that would travel with him. Mm-hmm. And so he would do these speaking events in various countries in the Roman Empire at the time. And he funded all of that with his tent making business.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the model I want to pursue. Because there's a freedom there. He could go where he wanted. He was funded, and he could speak to what he wanted to speak to whom he wanted to speak to, and he just kind of moved with his. So they didn't have digital back then, but he was definitely a nomad.
Yeah. And so he just basically his passion or what he loved to do was going out and giving these speaking events.
Right.
But that wasn't going to pay the bills for his entourage, and that wasn't going to make sure he kept eating. So he had this tent making business where he just knew how to make tents. So he'd go around, make tents, sell a couple tents, and that would give him enough funds to be able to do the speaking engagement, feed his entourage, and then go on to the next place.
Well, yeah, and I would think it was probably more than a couple of tents.
Yeah.
Because, so tents back then, I was trying to think about this, what would it be? It'd be like if you did websites, okay? Everybody needs a website these days, okay?
Yeah.
And nobody knows all the ins and outs of making a website, nor do we have time. And we want to do whatever our passion is or whatever our business is. Everybody needed tents back then, like everybody needs a website today. So he had, plenty of demand, plenty of business, and he could do it wherever he went. And that was the key.
Okay.
So what I did was I could lead companies and get involved with them. And I didn't want to just be pinned down to one. So I had multiple leadership positions in different companies.
And with those leadership positions, where those sound like they're kind of entrapping in a sense too. Like if you're leading a company, that comes with a certain amount of responsibilities that limit your ability to live truly free, right?
Well, okay. So the dynamic I set up was, I had to be on site, but it wasn't the kind of thing. So I'm running the business side of the business. I'm running the financial side, the strategic side, that sort of thing. And so I'm interacting with people, but I don't have to be there every day, or I could do it remotely.
Oh, so
I've been a digital nomad way before there was such a thing as digital nomads.
So you were.
I may be the digital nomad.
Yeah. So you were doing remote work before it was cool.
Oh yeah.
So how did you live truly free in that? It still sounds like you're working for somebody.
Oh yeah, no. So I'm part of the team, but look, I've got control over my schedule. It's very entrepreneurial. Okay. They didn't care when I worked. So like my sons would come home from school and like in the afternoon, I could be there. I could be there when I could see their expressions. I could see their reaction to things. I could be there for their life. And then if I needed to, after they go to bed, I could keep working or whatever. But I got to do one of my most core passions, which was my family, raising my sons, being a father. And I was able to do things I know from other dads were not able to do.
Yeah. So that sounds very interesting to me, because part of like what we're trained growing up and kind of in American society, so you kind of like flip expectation on its head.
As you're saying all of that, I'm remembering something else that I rejected that we're taught. And I'm sure this is kind of in your background too, where it's like, okay, so you're supposed to work those 40 years, save up for retirement, have everything worked out and planned, and then you can go live your life.
Yeah.
And you can go travel and go on that Mediterranean cruise or whatever and take the trips you've always wanted to take. Well, there's one tiny little problem with that. Mm-hmm. You're 60 plus years old.
Yeah.
And you don't have the energy like you did when you were in your 20s. So right out of college, I traveled for 4 months across Europe and Asia. And I climbed the mountains I wanted to climb. I climbed the tops of towers and cathedrals.
Yeah.
I did everything. And because you're 20 years old, you've got a lot of energy. You can't imagine how much stuff we could see in a day.
Yeah. Because I imagine that's what I've always thought about this same thing too, is like, why do we save the best part of life where you get to do whatever you want for the end? Because I imagine like if you're 65 and you're going out to Europe, you're just looking at things. You're not actually doing as much.
Well, here's the other thing. It's because you have money. And with money, you can travel. Here's what happened in college. All my friends are borrowing money to buy their new car. Mm-hmm. Okay? I borrowed the equivalent amount of money and traveled 4 months. I still have those memories. I could tell you story after story after story. They don't have their car anymore. Okay? So here's the thing, is that it's the other thing too is when you're at that age, they go on these tour groups. Okay, so do you think I'm the kind of person that would go on a tour group?
Maybe, but probably not.
No.
It doesn't seem like you want to be told where you're going.
And I'm not going to be told where I'm going to go. I'm going to go do it. And, and look, we want to see what we want to see and get going and boom, go on to the next thing or whatever. Or we want to stay and just linger in this place for as long as we want to stay. And we did that.
Yeah.
So the freedom, that's where I started learning like, oh, I can live truly free, living into passions. So 2 passions. One, fathering my sons, Another, travel, huge passion. And so I had flexibility with my work to where, as my boys got older, we'd go on these 10-day backpacking treks and things like that. The dads who were in the good corporate job, the attorneys, or entrepreneurs trapped inside their business, okay, couldn't do the trek.
So you structured your life in a way that it didn't restrain or limit your pursuit of your passions. And that's kind of what you're meaning by living truly free, is that you let your passions dictate what you're doing on a day-to-day basis rather than this job that provides or career or what.
Yes, that's partly it. Okay, so let's keep going with this, because it also means you've got to give up some things.
Okay.
So let's say I could lead 3 companies or 4 companies at a time, depending on the size, okay, and the complexity of the companies. Well, maybe I just do 3 companies. So I cut my income 25% or 30% or 50%. But I'm making enough, and I keep my expenses low so I don't have a huge threshold, because there's things I'd rather do.
Yeah.
Another passion is spreading goodness in the world, and giving my time in nonprofits, ministry, all kinds of ways. Well, I was able to do that with small kids,
Yeah.
and we got in some nice trips.
So you're saying, I guess, well, to me that doesn't sound too truly free because you have to make sacrifices. But isn't that, I think that would probably be too of a granular and technical take on the words living truly free. Because at the end of the day, you only have a limited amount of time, you only have a limited amount of interest and a certain amount of income to support those interests. So you just have to, it's kind of like making the optimal trade-off to maximally pursue your passions and at the minimum, do the minimum amount of things that you need to do to support those.
Well, AJ, you've just exposed yourself a little bit here with the word sacrifices.
Yeah.
I would use the word choices. So here's the thing. I didn't see my choices as a sacrifice.
You didn't see...
Making less money was not a sacrifice.
Okay.
Because I was choosing to live more fully into whom I'm intended to be.
Okay. So that make that.
And so when you use the word sacrifices, I am imagining you're probably associating, well, you took less income, so you were sacrificing future income.
Yeah. That's exactly how, I mean, that's the finance in me. That's that's how I saw it. Like, you're sacrificing that money.
Right.
But I see how you're saying and how freeing that is to be able to say, I'm going to choose to make random number, $100,000 when I could make 150.
Right.
I'm going to choose 100,000, and that right there, and the way you frame it as a choice, that's truly freeing. It's like, I am content and happy with $100,000. Whereas I don't need to make it big and get to 150, 200. I don't need to be a millionaire to live a life that's fulfilling to you. Is
right.
The decision you made.
Right. So AJ, there's more to live truly free than just kind of like what I've been talking about in the dynamic, but that's what's inspired me. There's something else. And I want to kind of take you in on a little mental exercise here and take everybody on this exercise. So try this. Can you imagine just having 60 minutes being completely free from all the pressures and drivenness, the things you've got to do in your life? 60 minutes.
An hour is a long time.
Let's go for 10 seconds. 10 seconds of being completely free of all the demands on you. Now, this little device right here is one of the biggest Can you imagine just turning this off and missing whatever happens in 10 seconds? Not being available for 10 seconds. You're like, well, I could probably do that. Really? All right? All the demands. But imagine I'm completely, totally free from what social media pressures, demands from this part of my life or these relationships and this and this and this and this. I'm completely free.
10 seconds.
10 seconds. Or 10 seconds from all the fear. Or all the pressures, demands.
No. I feel like how do you turn them off? You can turn the phone off for 10 seconds. I'm pretty confident I can do that.
Right.
You miss a call, you just call them right back. You got it 5 seconds later,
all right.
You're fine.
Well, wait. Answer this question. But while the phone is off for those 10 seconds or 30 minutes or 60 minutes, are you not wondering what's happening on that phone?
Probably.
All right, that's not free. Mm-hmm. If you're wondering about what am I missing, it's not free.
I just feel like we're so plugged into the outside world that all of those things are always just shouting at you and trying to get into your head.
So let me let you guys in on a little secret. There's writers from millennia ago who describe this life as a shipwreck.
Like our life or their life?
Well, no, they're living like 1,000 years ago or something, or maybe longer. I'd have to source the quote, but it's out there. But it's not, it's a common thought. So everyone in different ages have always thought this world is a mess.
I can agree with that.
And technology, to me, is just like an accelerator. It's just more of it comes at us faster.
Because you have access to the entire mess of the entire world.
Right. Yeah, we can know news events all over the world, right? So here's the point. Living truly free, you ready for this? Mm-hmm. Is free from that.
Free from the outside pressures or feeling
free from
beholden.
Fear.
Yeah, beholden.
Free from anxiousness. Free from worry. Free from feeling beholden.
Yeah. To all those outside pressures. Because, so you're kind of saying it's like the way you live, you structure it in a way where those outside pressures don't affect you because you just stay doing what you like doing and you stay within your passions, and those outside pressures have very minimal to almost no effect on your daily, weekly, hourly, 10-second life.
Okay. Yes and no. So, yes, it is living into your passions, but it's more than that. And no, because I don't think it's humanly possible to do it on our own account. And you focus on who you're intended to be, and you begin living into that. That is the beginning of living truly free.
Okay.
And it begins to take you on a trek, a journey into the unknown.
Yeah, because I'm hearing this and I'm like, what am I intended to be? That seems like the unknown to me.
Right. And that's the journey to start on. The combination of who we are is unique. So let me go to another place here. If you don't bring who you are to this world, it will be forever missed.
You're doing the world a disservice.
You will be forever missed. Only AJ can bring AJ into the world.
That's pretty deep.
Yeah. Only George can bring George into the world. Only you can bring you into the world. And if you don't, we'll never know. We'll never know you. So I'm curious, AJ, what's going on inside of you right now? What are you feeling right now as I say all of that?
I'm trying to think of a similar situation. I'm feeling kind of how when I first came to college, I transferred. I'm a transfer student. So I transferred in the middle of the pandemic. So half my classes were online, half my classes were in person. I got here. I've never been to this state before, and because I couldn't do visits because
Right.
COVID. And so I got here, half my classes are online, half are in person. There's no social scene whatsoever because they've canceled everything. And I just got here and I'm like, oh, now, like, what am I supposed to do? How do I figure this out? And that's what I feel now is this living truly free, because I want to be able to say I live truly free, right? It's like a journey of, I've just been plopped into this world. I have a certain skill set, and I have certain interests and passions and aspirations. And this living truly free isn't just like, oh, one day when I'm 50, I'm going to be living truly free. It's kind of this lifelong journey of, it starts at the passions, and then as I focus in on those, it's about getting the most out of my passions and getting the most out of myself and contributing the most to the world that I innately and internally can give and want to give. And I'm not going to be able to say at 45, at 50, at 55, I'm living truly free. It's going to be, it's a lifelong journey. And at the end, you can be, oh, I lived truly free.
For more conversations like this one, check this video out. I know you're going to love it. And until our next video, may you live truly free.